Hello and welcome into the Why Would You Think That podcast. This is Zach. I'm going to do three segments breaking down last week's NFL Week 2. This week I'm just going to do a couple quick thoughts on each game, kind of rifle through all 16 games. The next segment is going to be five biggest winners and losers from each, or from the weekend. So I have the five biggest winners in my opinion, five biggest losers in my opinion, and they're probably not going to be popular for your team. And then the third segment I'm going to do is contenders and pretenders and the can they recover group. I'll get into more details on those specific videos, but for this one, we're going to go backwards before we go forwards. I'm going to break down all the games from week 2, starting with Thursday Night Football. Bengals at the Browns, I really should say. I was really impressed with the Browns' run game. 35 attempts, 215 yards on the ground, 6.1 yards per carry. That's between both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think this is going to be the identity of the Browns all year. This is kind of why I didn't overreact after week 1. Weren't able to really get into their ground game as much as they wanted to. Got behind, had to throw it a bunch. This is going to be the identity of the Browns. I just dropped my pen, of course. Joe Burrow for the Bengals looked extremely crisp. He looked ready. He looks like he's going to fight. I mean, the Bengals aren't going to win a lot of games this year, but I'm really excited to watch Joe Burrow for this season because he, as he said in his post-game interview, he doesn't like losing, and he's not willing to go down without a fight. I liked what I saw from Baker. I love the game plan again. Run the ball, get some play action going, get him comfortable, allow him some time to step into his throws. He didn't look as disturbed in the pocket as he did in week 1. We had to run around. I am concerned about the Browns' defense in passing. Against the pass, they looked really out of sync, and I know Joe Burrow played well, and it might be part of that, but it also might be a part of Browns' passing defense didn't look good. Browns' front seven looked pretty okay against the run. I was a little impressed with how they stunted Joe Mixon and their running attempt. All right, let's move on to Sunday. Bucks versus Panthers. Obviously, Bucks recover from the week 1 loss to the Saints. And what I kind of did before the weekend is I put little question marks between each matchup. So for some of these, I'm gonna kind of address, and some I won't. My question for this one was, can the Bucks boat race the Panthers, because the Panthers' offense is obviously limited. That didn't happen so much. The Bucks' run game got going a little bit with Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. I thought that was a little impressive. Tom Brady looked okay. I wasn't impressed. He looked all right in the first quarter, or first half, excuse me. Second half, not so much. I'm really am concerned because there's a couple throws, and they're normally short throws, where he'll throw it and it just kind of flutters and hits the ground 6-7 yards downfield before his intended receiver, or at the feet of his intended receiver. It's really kind of concerning. Obviously, the Panthers are one of the 5 worst teams in football. Got a win. Got a garbage time touchdown with Leonard Fournette, so the score really wasn't a 2-touchdown difference. Christian McCaffrey gets hurt in the game, high ankle sprain. Panthers' offense is really in a work in progress. And the Bucks took advantage of some dumb mistakes by the Panthers. The one that comes to mind, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater threw one of the dumbest interceptions on a screen pass you'll ever see. Floats it high and above McCaffrey, and one of the Bucks linebacker, or I think it was Ndamukong Suh actually, picked it off. Just ridiculous. Bucks 1-1. I wasn't impressed, but they beat up on a bad team. All right, Vikings at the Colts. Cousins played like crap again. 3 picks. And, oh my gosh, Stephon Diggs, who they traded in the offseason, has more receiving yards than the Vikings had passing yards for the game in week 2, that is. Colts stick to their strength. They run it behind that offensive line. They really controlled the game like that. Short passes. Frank Wright, his whole offensive playbook is based on quick passes, running the ball. They have a great offensive line for it. I was really, man, it's tough because it's like the Vikings look like a terrible team considering how many points they've let up, considering how good their defense has been in years past. Where do the Vikings go from here? I have no idea. Their passing game looks out of sync. Dalvin Cook gets garbage time touchdowns after both week 1 and 2. They need to get their offense going, and it's a terrible combination. No, this is the no bleep comment. If your offense can't do anything and your defense gives up 70 points in the first two matchups. All right, we'll move on. Bills at Dolphins. My question was, and I think this plays here, and I keep dropping my pen, of course. Can Fitzmagic bounce back and keep it close? Dolphins played well. I mean, they had the lead, or they were really close into it. Josh Allen started off slow. He had some big time throws to help get his team the lead and then ice the game. Excuse me. I am concerned though that this doesn't get talked about enough. Josh Allen can be super Jekyll and Hyde with his performance. He can have moments of pure greatness, and then he'll have Dinder Mifflin plays of he'll fumble it, he'll throw. He can still be really inaccurate. And the Bills need to be more consistent running the football. I mean, that was part of their bread and butter last year. They really have not been able to do it much this year. It would take a lot of pressure off Josh Allen. Let's move on. 49ers at the Jets. 49ers committed to the run. The first play of the game, Raheem Mostert gets an 80-yard touchdown. He wasn't touched. It was a toss play. Didn't even get touched by a Jets defender. If it was one-hand touch football, Raheem Mostert still scores the touchdown. And then the other key is just injuries. Jimmy G, Raheem Mostert going to the locker room at halftime. They don't play. Mostert has an MCL sprain. Jimmy G, high ankle sprain. Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas, ACL tears. Two key defensive linemen in their rotation. On top of George Kittle being hurt and Deebo Samuel being out, and Richard Sherman, who's not playing right now. He's on IR. So they're gonna have a mass unit out there against the Giants. Even Jimmy G might not even play because the 49ers are concerned about the turf at MetLife, which is where they played the Jets, obviously their home stadium, and they're going back there again this upcoming Sunday. So it's something to keep an eye on. I wasn't really impressed by the 49ers. You destroyed a terrible team in the Jets, and they just kind of ran the ball with Jerick McKinnon after Mostert, and Coleman got hurt. Excuse me, I forgot about Tevin Coleman. All right, let's move on. Rams, Eagles. My question, I think this plays a lot here, is can Carson Wentz survive the Rams front? Rams off. Here's the storyline of the season. Rams offense looks reinvigorated after last year. Everyone thought last year their offense is stale. It's been figured out. Todd Gurley, who knows? I mean, he hasn't looked really good as a Falcon this year. It was a huge problem because they weren't able to run the football like they liked. Like they like to do. They've been splitting carries between the rookie Cam Akers and Malcolm Brown. Their passing game looks a ton better than last year. Another thing I noticed, Eagles O-line still looks terrible, even with Lane Johnson back. When they got Lane Johnson back for this game, the offense just can't get it going. I'm really starting to question Doug Peterson because I've really noticed this since the Super Bowl. Like, they can't scheme people open. Unless it's Deshaun Jackson on a go route, like, they can't scheme people open consistently. And every time Wentz has to throw the ball, he has to throw it in a tight window with two guys crashing into Ertz or Goddard or the rookie Jalen Reagor, who I just got a notification who's going to be out for a little while. That's not going to be good for them. Eagles need to run the ball. That was a huge part of their Super Bowl run. Running the ball, getting chunk plays like that. I think they need to commit to it a little bit more. And I'll talk about a little bit more about them later on another segment. All right, Broncos at Steelers. Drew Lock gets hurt early. Steelers kind of coast the rest of the way. They knew they were playing a limited opponent after Drew Lock got hurt. Jeff Driscoll, the backup, played well. The report today, Broncos are bringing in the boat, Blake Bortles, for a backup situation if anything happens to Driscoll against the Bucs. Not much thoughts on that. I thought it was a lot closer than it needed to be, but Steelers really did kind of coast in to the finish line with that one. All right, Giants at Bears. Saquon's injury for the Giants is devastating. It's not like their offense is very good as it is, let alone losing a superstar like that. Giants offense just can't get it going. They almost came back to win the game. They start off at 17-0 Bears. At halftime, the Giants score 13 points, almost get a late touchdown, but just couldn't find their way into the end zone. There was an offensive pass interference as the clock hit 0. And here's the thing I've noticed, and I'm not really impressed with the Bears. The Bears have played two awful teams in the Lions and the Giants. But the Bears' defense has looked with a little bit more energy than last year. Last year they knew they had to go out, and if they didn't hold people to less than 20 points, they were doomed. With the Bears' offense being able to run the football a little bit, I know against bad teams, but they were able to run it a little bit and spot their defense a lead. The defense has played well. Again, not against great competition, but it is to be commended. All right, Washington football team at the Cardinals. I can't really say that without giggling a little bit. Kyler Murray has some room for improvement. I'm the leader of the fan club. I'll admit it, but he has looked like he's committed to running, scrambling more. He's run the football more. I think that's good. It'll keep the defense a little more honest when the passing game really needs to get going. But I think he has room for improvement in the passing game. There have been multiple times I've watched, and he is just staring down one receiver, one read, and then he runs. I think he can grow a little bit. I think he will. There was a couple times against Washington where he had DeAndre Hopkins wide open, and could have just chucked it down instead of having to run. He doesn't get hit a whole lot, so it wasn't a big deal. But I think he can improve in that standpoint. I think the youth showed for Washington. Big win against the Eagles. Comeback going to West Coast, from East Coast to West Coast. I think youth showed a little bit. They got behind big. Showed some fight at the end for garbage time points. But I still like Washington. I think the foundation's there. But Cardinals, I think, have a chance to be a whole lot more this season. All right, Ravens at the Texans. My question? Can Deshaun will his team to stay in the game, not win the game? I knew that they probably weren't going to win, but can he will his team to stay in the game? Ravens' game plan was simple, and it's what they've been doing consistently: run, and run again. Texans got a handful of sacks early on Lamar. I think it was like 4 early on in the game, but it wasn't enough. Texans offense just has no edge in taking advantage of aggressive Baltimore defense. I mean, they just can't. They didn't get Will Fuller involved. Maybe their biggest threat, Will Fuller, had 0 catches. I don't know how many targets. I didn't look too deep into it, but the passing game looks completely lost without DeAndre Hopkins. They can't run the ball. And Baltimore just played keep away. I mean, they're like, oh, we know you can't score 20. We'll just keep the ball, run it, and you can have fun with that. So very impressive from the Ravens standpoint, and they iced the game. The Mark Ingram touchdown. It's like they basically know, hey, we know you can't stop us. We'll snap it to Mark Ingram he took the snap, shotgun snap, and just ran to hit his head on the goalpost when he should have just when the idea was to kill the clock. All right, Chiefs at Chargers. My question was, can Chargers limit one part of the Chiefs' offense? Not really. They stopped the run a little bit. The Chargers defense, played pretty well. Justin Herbert gets the start due to the embroiled controversy that's starting up today with Tyrod Taylor's chest dilemma. Herbert gets the start. He looks really poised. He looked pretty good for a dude who found out he was going to start moments before kickoff. Chiefs overcome another double-digit lead in the second half. They're 6-0 with Mahomes when they're down by double digits. Mahomes makes, the great on the run 50-yard pass to Tyreek Hill for a touchdown. I really take issue with Anthony Lynn. It was just so ridiculous. Like, what are you doing? It's goal line in regulation, run, pass. Come on, man. You got to have your rookie QB have some play calls more aggressively. Like, when you kicked the field goal to go up 20-17, I knew the game was over. Even though they went to overtime, you had to get a touchdown there. You had to force the Chiefs to go the length of the field with the limited amount of time that they had. They ended up going down, kicking a field goal to get into overtime. Then the other dagger, as if it wasn't over by then. It's 4th and 1. I understand you're in your own territory in overtime, but you're going to punt it to the league MVP, and they'll just ice it and take the win. I really thought they should have gone for it in 4th and 1. The result would have been the same had they not gotten it or had they punted. I mean, I think that's extremely hard to argue with that. I think they should have gone for it. They were in perfect position to win. But I was very, very impressed with Justin Herbert. and I think he should continue to get the starts instead of Tyrod Taylor. All right, Lions at Packers. Lions blow another double-digit lead. Packers spot them a 14-3 lead early in the game. Then the Lions make a bunch of dumb penalty mistakes before halftime. Packers get the lead 17-14. They get the ball, start second half. Packers go down, basically end it, blow the Lions out of the water. I live in Michigan, and this is going to be a common theme here. It's like, can the Lions just get off the mat? They're probably not going to do it in this upcoming week against the Cardinals. So, all right, Falcons, Cowboys. This one was super interesting to watch. Falcons, you score 39 points. You're up 29-10 at half. Teams who had scored 39 points and not turned it over in a football game since it has been recorded in the NFL were 440-0. Falcons made history with that. The onside kick where a bunch of Falcons are staring at the onside kick like it's a bomb, like it's a grenade about to go off. What's crazy is nobody's talking about this. Julio Jones was right there. Julio Jones is watching the onside kick spin its way to 10-yard eligibility to be recovered by the home team. Like, what are you doing? A bunch of Falcons just sitting there. This is the largest lead the Falcons have given up since Super Bowl 51 when it was 28-3. Dak played out of his mind. I can't believe the Cowboys won't pay this man. And how much time is left for Dan Quinn? I mean, honestly, the Falcons head coach. Like, you are a defensive coordinator by trade. You suck on defense. Your offense is the only reason you have any respectability, and you might dig your way out of this 0-2 start. Your offense was the reason you made it to the Super Bowl. What the hell? I mean, and then for the Cowboys, NFC East stinks. It was a crucial win, but if they had lost, I don't think it would have been devastating. The NFC East stinks. Garbage. All right, Jags at Titans. Minshew played well. There's no quitting them. I think the Jags really start to believe in Minshew. I don't still. I need a little bit more proof to show that he can keep his job, to be frank with you. But they were down double digits. Didn't matter. Kept fighting. I'm interested to see how Minshew plays against the Dolphins. See if I can gather a little bit more information because I still don't buy in just yet. Titans take the 2-0 record in a ragged AFC South. I mean, I don't think Texans are going to get off the mat. Jags, I think, are limited, and I don't think the Colts are going to do anything special. So I think it's huge for the Titans to get to a 2-0 start. And here's the thing that nobody talks about. Since Tannehill started started starting games at quarterback for them, and I think it was like week 5 last year. Statistically, and if you eye test, Ryan Tannehill is playing as one of the best, among the top 10 quarterbacks in the league right now. I know nobody wants to talk about it; it's not sexy, but that's real, man. There's something there. I truly believe that. All right, let's go. Sunday Night Football, Patriots at Seahawks. It was absolute theater to watch. If you weren't watching and you're a huge football fan, I don't know what you were doing. Seahawks are letting Russ cook. I know the phrase is out there, let Russ cook. They let him go. They wanted to run the football. They made an emphasis on that, but they weren't too committed to say, hey, let's let this guy who's on track so far within 2 weeks to win the league MVP. Cam looked really good for all the people who were out there last year were like, oh, the Patriots don't have weapons. That's why Tom Brady's struggling. If Cam keeps playing this way, I don't know what those people are going to say. Oh, they got better after they aged another year, like Edelman, like Demir Bird, who they picked up off the scrap pile. I mean, at some point you got to look at it and say, this offense was limited by the quarterback last year. I think it's as simple as that. Cam looked really good running and throwing, like I said. Patriots stopped at the 1-yard line, ironically. For all those, who happened in the Super Bowl several years ago. All right, let's move on to Monday Night Football, and we'll wrap this up, and I'll move on to the next segment. Saints at Raiders. No Michael Thomas. Breeze looks old again. I mean, I really hopped on this train last year. Drew Brees is not the same dude. This dude cannot throw it deep, and he's got a pitch count, and this is earlier and earlier in the season. This is super early. Last year he had his arm a little bit going into about week 10. He still didn't look great, but like his arm, he looks old. He can't push the ball down the field. At some point, if this trend continues and their offense is limited like it was Monday, you very well could see Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston start getting meaningful snaps. Like the Saints come out 17-7, and they think they just they threw the kitchen sink at the Raiders, and they were hoping the Raiders would buckle and they could just ride it out with Kamara for a W. That didn't happen. Raiders' offensive game plan was really, really good, moving Darren Waller all over the field. Saints couldn't cover the guy. And the Raiders were able to run the football with a good amount of ferocity behind that offensive line without their two best run blockers in Trent Brown and Richie Incognito. I was super impressed with the Raiders' game plan, execution in the new building, in their new home. Now, the Raiders' defense is nothing to write home about, but they looked pretty good holding a old quarterback who's limiting his offense to what's happening. The Saints are going to waste another season because Drew Brees can't allow that offense to thrive and allow that team to thrive. So that's my breakdown of the games. I don't think I missed any of them. Quick thoughts. Try to keep it short and concise. So thank you for listening. I hope you tune in for the biggest winners of Week 2, winners and losers, which is coming up next. So thank you for listening. This is the Why Would You Think That podcast.